we need new blood in places like Lansing and D.C. And we know that when we raise our voices, when we go to that ballot box, we're going to make it happen in 2018. To be here today with you in a city that's been in my family's history for a long time. My grandmother, Judy, trained at Berkeley Hospital. My grandpa Jan, he went to Kettering, used to be GMI. And I grew up spending a lot of my summers in Flint because my mom and my dad both taught at that university. And so when I say it is an honor and a privilege to be back in Flint, I say it with the deepest amount of regard and the deepest amount of belief in the future of this city. Now, we've got a choice in 2018. We've got a choice about a vision for our politics, about whether or not we are willing to embrace a future along the ideals on which this country was founded. Because I grew up in my public school learning about a government for the people and by the people. Not for corporations and by corporations. And I've had the opportunity, as I've crisscrossed this incredible state, to meet all kinds of Michiganders. And the fact of the matter is no matter where you go, when you're talking to poor or working or retired people in places like Flint or Detroit or Benton Harbor or places like Kalkaska or Marquette in the Upper Peninsula, they are talking about the same set of issues. They are asking why it is that in a state that is defined by its fresh water, that Flint still does not have clean water. Yeah! To bottle unlimited amounts of our water for $400 a year. We're asking, when are we going to stand up and demand that in Michigan we deserve clean water for everyone? Yeah. We're asking why CEOs of big insurance corporations can take home $13 million a year. Well, 600,000 Michiganders still don't have access to health care. When are we going to have leadership that stands up for state-level Medicare for all? Why are we allowing a small family out on the west side of the state, and y'all know what I'm talking about, to dominate our public schools, creating a pipeline from our taxpayer dollars that we have paid into a system to educate our babies? Why we've allowed that pipeline to go into their back pockets? When are we going to stand up, demand that public schools stay public, and de-boss our public education system? We have to pay twofold the national average in auto insurance. When are we going to stand up to those lawyers, to those doctors, to those insurers, and just say that the right to drive ought to be a right? And when are we going to stand up and take back our politics? Because right now, we're watching as this legislature in Lansing seems to be a lot more interested in telling people what language to speak than in making sure they have the ability to speak any language that they want. In our state, why don't we pass legislation to make sure that everybody has access to English language training programs? In enacting work requirements for something as basic as health care for low-income Michiganders, instead of guaranteeing that we have access to a high-quality, union-represented, $15 an hour job. love them, that empowering any and all of us to have access to a job, to healthcare, to housing, regardless of who we love or how we identify. We're interested in going after the right to a woman's health care than in making sure government gets out of the way of the best interests of a woman and her doctor. We've got to stand up for reproductive rights in this state. It's about whether or not we want to continue to move on the same system of corporate bought government. We want to allow insurers to decide what our healthcare system is going to look like. The people who pave our streets and make money doing it every year to decide what our roads will look like. The people who have made their way breaking unions to decide what the future of work is going to look like. Or we can stand up and decide that in a society founded on the ideal that government ought to be for the people and by the people, that we, the people, ought to stand up, ought to decide that when we raise our voices, we can build the kind of Michigan that dignifies all of us. My dad, who immigrated to this country from Egypt, knew that his eldest son would ever decide to run for governor, he'd stay back home. I became a doctor because I wanted to learn how to heal. And then I realized that it was our politics that were making people sick in the first place. And it's impossible. You're too young, too brown, too Muslim, too gay, too female, too black. We've all heard those words before. They tell us it's impossible to break the chokehold that these corporations have had on our politics for far too long. It is impossible to stand up and decide that in this society built on a notion of a democracy that we can actually have that. Impossible to get Betsy DeVos out of our schools. Impossible to get government out of the way between a woman and her doctor. Impossible to guarantee equal rights for every single Michigander in this state. They say it is impossible. But when we, the people, decide that we are willing to stand up for a politics that is true to our ideals, then I know that the work we will do is not just possible, that we will make reality out of their impossible. When we raise and lift each other, when we do the work of democracy, clean water for everyone is possible. Good health care for all is possible. The ability to send your kid to a school that dignifies their brain is possible. The ability to build mass transportation and fix the roads and guarantee people access to a basic, dignified job that pays a $15 wage. These are not just possible. We will make them our future in this state of Michigan. The time is now where we stand up and we say that it should not matter who you are, should not matter what your parents do, shouldn't matter the color of your skin or how you pray or who you love or how you identify. It should not matter what your past is. What should matter is that we dignify you as a human, because you as a human, our sister, our brother, our Michigan resident, that we will dignify you, we will raise you, we will lift you, and we'll do it together. More personal than it is now. About 8 months ago, my wife Sarah, she gave birth to our first baby girl. We named her Emily. It means my hope in her. Emily is ethnically half Egyptian like her father, ethnically half Indian like her mom, definitely the better half. 100% American. In a Muslim household. And I know what they're going to say to my Emily. They're going to tell her she's not enough. She's not American enough, despite the fact that she's an 8th generation American. She's too brown, she's too Muslim, she's too female. The fact is that my Emily has a tremendous amount of privilege. She's growing up in a house where she's got both her parents. In fact, she's got 4 parents. We live with my in-laws. My brother is very, very lucky. And we had great academic opportunities. The fact is, I can't help but compare the life that Emily has in front of her and the life of a little boy whom I got to serve when I was health director in the city of Detroit. He was 3 years old, 4th child of a 21-year-old mom, met his father maybe 4 times in his life because his dad's in jail. This boy had this confidence. The minute he walked in the room, he filled it up. And he taught me more about public health than I had learned in both of my previous doctoral degrees. Because if nothing less, the work of public health and the role of government ought to be about justifying the kind of confidence that any 3-year-old should have in the life that he or she is going to lead. Yeah. And we've got a responsibility to a set of ideas. Because Emily's grandfather, my dad, he took a bet on this America when he decided to come here back in 1978. He was the eldest son of the wisest, most intelligent human being I've ever met in my life. That was my grandmother, Suad. She never got to go to school. She was illiterate, raised 6 kids in a 1-bedroom apartment. He was the oldest. His dad sold vegetables every day in a fish market down the road. But my dad, when he was making this decision about where he was going to build a life, he learned about an America where it shouldn't matter the color of his skin, how he prays that his name was Muhammad. He could be just as American as anyone else. An America whose ideals I learned about in the public school I got to go to. And I had this incredible teacher. She had this ability to put you in the room where it was all happening when you were learning about the framing of our Constitution. And I learned about an America founded on the ideal that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal. But we will not have met that responsibility until we know that whether it is my Emily or our Demarius or every child growing up in this Michigan of ours, until every one of those kids has the best shot at the most dignified life that we can offer them. A place where they know that they will have health care, have access to a good job, a school that believes in the value and the importance and the vision of their brain. A place where it doesn't matter their ability, doesn't matter who they love, doesn't matter how they identify, the color of their skin, a place that will dignify them as fellow Michiganders. That is the Michigan that we are going to build. We've got a choice in 2018. They tell us we don't. They tell us that the polls have already decided. A bunch of folks answering landlines. They tell us that our vote doesn't even matter anymore. We might as well stay home. But here's the thing. It's a democracy. It's a government for the people and by the people, and we the people in 2018 have a choice, and I know that we will make the right one. There are people that you meet along the way who remind you why you walked. And when the going gets the hardest, you look over and you see them walking and blazing their trail. And one of the greatest opportunities that I've had on this process is to make friends in justice. Friends who have shown us what that path looks like, and that in fact, on the other side of it, there is success and opportunity. And I've been honored to have the support and the friendship and the mentorship of one of those people, and her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. then my mentor, Congresswoman-elect from the great state of New York.
Is that Flint plays a very important role in the start of my story too. About at the end of the 2016 election, the whole nation, I think, was in different phases of shock and awe, and we all dealt with it in different ways. At the time, while I was working with families as an educator, as an organizer, I was also waiting tables, helping my family make ends meet. My mom was on the brink of losing her home, and like many Americans, I had a second, sometimes third job, depending on the time. And we were trying to make ends meet. But it was after the 2016 election, a good friend of mine, after doing some organizing all that year, we kind of looked at each other, and we were just, I think, searching for meaning. We're really kind of doing what we needed, whatever we felt we needed to do. And so we packed all of our stuff in a 20-year-old station wagon, and we drove across the country. We went on a road trip, and we drove out of New York City into Pennsylvania, Ohio, and across the border into Michigan. And at one point, we kind of looked at each other, and we just said, let's go to Flint. Let's go to Flint. So 2 years ago, she and I drove to Flint. We sat down with a local organizer. He couldn't be here today, but we sat down with a local leader, and it was 2 years ago that I was sitting at the Starlight Coney Island Diner. 2 hours over some waffles and a cup of coffee because we were just driving nonstop across the country. And it was over those 2 hours we had just this conversation, just what happened. What happened? And there was no real clear answer, except one thing, that there were a lot of people who put themselves before their communities in that situation. There were too many people who put themselves, who put corporations, who put lobbyist influence, who put money ahead of the lives of everyday people here in Flint. That is what happened. It was an extraordinarily impactful experience, but we had just spent the afternoon, and we kept driving. And that trip ended up at Standing Rock. That trip ended at Standing Rock, where there too, on the borders of South and North Dakota, the Lakota Sioux and everyday American people were fighting for their right to clean water as well. From Kansas, from Michigan, from the Dakotas, yes, from New York, from California, all over this nation were attracted to that place, to stand up for what's right, to put everything that they had on the line to protect the dignity, the safety, the right for clean water, and the right for dignified life for all Americans. And right there. And the day that I left camp, that I was asked if I'd be willing to run for Congress in the year 14. That is a true story. It took me about 6 months to finally decide that it was something that I was going to do. It was about May of last year, June last year, that I announced my totally improbable, statistically impossible campaign for Congress. being ignored. 2 years of knocking on doors. 2 years of people saying, little girl, it ain't possible. 2 years of saying, stop selling a pipe dream. 2 years of saying, this country won't vote for Medicare for all. 2 years of people saying, tuition-free college, well, is not supported even in the state of New York. 2 years saying that a Green New Deal is not possible. 2 years of that where we proved all of it wrong. Not because people said this is the politically winnable thing to do. We kept going because we knew it was the right thing to do. Are here today because you know and I know that voting and supporting for Abdul El-Sayed for governor is the right thing to do. Right after that trip on Standing Rock, the next year, a Bronx public high school tested with lead in their water 16 times higher than Flint. 16 times higher. And they try to tell us that the struggle of the Bronx is different than the struggle of Flint, is different than the struggle of Standing Rock. That they are telling us that so that we don't come together and change this nation. And what we do with Flint is what we do in the Bronx. Yes! Is what we do with Standing Rock. Is what we do with Baltimore. Is what we do with Columbus. Is what we do with St. Louis. How we treat Flint is how we treat the nation. Yes! The dignity that it deserves, to fight for the dignity that all working families in this country deserve, is to fight for Medicare for all, to get money out of our politics, to advance the notion that every child can be born with a right to college, to make sure that we all ensure and fight for a 100% renewable energy economy in our lifetime. But Abdul El-Sayed is the only person that can deliver us that. We are can't do it alone. It takes a movement. The only way that we can accomplish this, is if every single person in this room dedicates the next 10 days to knocking on doors, to calling your grandma, to making sure that we drag 10 people to the polls with us, because that's the only way that this nation has ever changed. It's not about winning over and trying to convince those who don't believe in our full personhood, but to talk to the people whose personhood has not been fully recognized and say, we have hope in this moment. Yeah. We have hope. That is how we can change our democracy. That is how our democracy has only ever changed. When we reach out and we say, we are fighting for you. That there is something worth voting for. Out in New York, we won our race. We expanded the electorate 68% over the last Our swing voter is not red to blue. Our swing voter is the voter to the non-voter. The non-voter to the voter. We got to convince them that this is a system worth buying into, that it is still possible elect people who are divested from corporate money and put working class families first. And Abdul is proof. For not just coming out here today, but to committing yourselves to the work of change. Because when you don't take corporate money, you have to rely on big organizing and everyday people. So thank you all so much, and thank you for being part